So welcome, everybody. Welcome to our very highly valued CloudVO partners. I am Laurent. I'm the CEO of CloudVO. I'm also the CEO of Pacific Workplaces, which makes me also an operator like you are. And Pacific Workplaces has 18 locations, mostly in Northern California. So the scoop, which is no longer a scoop because we informed all of you guys over email that CloudVO was acquired by Yardi as of yesterday, June 1st, and is now in the process of integrating into the Yardi listing network. So what's the Yardi listing network? Well, it's a group of 7 listing sites like Commercial Cafe, like Property Sharks, 42nd Floors, and others that you may have seen before in your own searches for office space in your area that were initially geared at the traditional office space, but have integrated co-working spaces as well via a very simple filter, and those websites are very powerful, and they all share one database. So 7 sites, one database, which means that if you approve, we will be able to move your data from CloudVO to that database. And when it's in that database, it propagates to all 7 sites, okay? So who is getting the lion's shares of searches on Google right now? Well, I have here in green Commercial Cafe, which is one of those 7 sites owned by Yardi. Commercial Search, it's another one of those sites owned by Yardi in green. And then, you know, all of the service providers that you have been familiar with. On the y-axis, it's the volume of monthly search. And as you can see, Commercial Cafe alone is dwarfing pretty much anybody else. On the x-axis, it's how many minutes that visitors spend on each of those websites. And you could see the Alliance Virtual, the Vinci Virtual, people spend quite a bit of time, which means that they find some value, but anything above 4 minutes is pretty good. Anything less than 2 minutes is not very good. That means people don't find it that useful. I wanted to use Commercial Cafe and Commercial Search on this graph so that we could still make instant offices and liquid space and a few others visible. But if you add to it Property Shark, which is another one of the Yardi own listing site, all of a sudden, and then you add WeWork and Radius, all of these service providers here have a really hard time to keep their head above water. And that would have included CloudVO. I don't have it in this graph, but it would have been close and below liquid space, essentially. So this is why, this is one of the reasons that when we realized that we were a long way from being able to achieve this level of volume of searches and therefore this level of exposure for our partners. Long story short, we decided to sell CloudVO to Yardi and be part of a much more powerful company that can bring more leads to you guys, okay? So I'm going to share here my vision as the CEO of Pacific Workplaces of what's going on in our industry. And I think we emerging, you know, a new landscape is really emerging that is trying to, a landscape of service providers that are trying to match supply and demand. The demand being like small and medium businesses, as well as large corporate and enterprise customers, and the supply being co-working operators and commercial landlords that sometimes try to develop their own co-working operation. As I see more people joining, I would encourage them to check the recording, because the two slides I just shared with you guys are very important, and the main reason why CloudVO realized they could not do it on its own, and we joined Yardi. So as I look into my crystal ball, I see essentially two major platforms emerging here. You've got Instant, which historically has been the leader in web brokerage in our industry. And last year, they received $200 million from Rangers as an investment into Instant Offices. I should say IWG, but that owns Rangers, same thing. And they acquired a platform that did a very good job on their niche, like DaVinci, like Rovo is the offices, and actually quite a few others. And they are in the process of trying to make sense out of it in terms of integrating all of them. That's not an easy task. On the other side, you have Yardi, and Yardi comes from the software part of the business. And I'll tell you a little bit about their history, or essentially I'll let you know now. They come from the property management business, so they develop software to support initially apartment building owners to manage their space. And from there, they acquired some of the marketing sites and developed their own. So on the apartment building space, you've got websites like apartments.com, actually owned by Yardi, and in that market, they match supply and demand. If you're looking for a two-bedroom apartment in New York City, you'll find apartment.com, and you'll find a bunch of solutions for you. They use their success, owning more than 50% of the market share there, going into the traditional office space with traditional landlords, and they have a dominant market share, both in terms of the software that support property manager managing their buildings, but also same thing in terms of the marketing sites like Commercial Cafe, like Property Shark. And then they decided to go into co-working. And, Yardi, it's not just anybody. It's a $2 billion company. They have a lot of muscles. And we thought that as CloudVO, we could not do it alone. So we might as well join somebody that can do a better job than we are, especially if we help them direct their energy in the right directions to the benefit of the industry, of our partners in this industry. So Instant, Yardi, two big platforms, and in the middle, two big platforms trying to provide this kind of tools to our industry. Instant, it's mostly on the marketing side. Yardi, it's on a bunch of other things. And that's going to squeeze out the competition in the middle. And CloudVO was in the middle. And again, we didn't think we could do it alone. I don't think that most of these players in the middle will be able to do it alone. Although, as any other industry, you have always people that do a very good job and will surprise you. If I had to make a bet, I would say Liquid Space is probably going to survive. They have a good technology, and they also do a very good job with corporate accounts. But it's going to be very, very hard for anybody else. And that's why CloudVO decided that, we'd rather join somebody that has a better chance to make it work for everybody else, for the industry. In that business, scale matters. We also think, and that's the second reason. The first reason were the volume of searches that we could not compete with as CloudVO. The second reason was that with scale comes efficiency. With good technology comes less manual process, which means that the winning service providers in our space should be able to make it work with only a 10% commission. So right now, that's not 10% is not the norm. For virtual offices, for example, we were charging as CloudVO 30%, and we needed 30% to at least to break even. But somebody like Yardi is going to be much more able than us alone to drive this commission, these discounts down to 10%. Same thing with meeting rooms. CloudVO would have kept 50% of the transaction. But in this world of technology, it does not make sense anymore. And we didn't see a path to go down to 10% on our own. Office space, the norm is 10 to 15%. I don't think this is going to change. All right. So I as a CEO of CloudVO, saw that we were not going to be able to compete. Yardi is already providing only a 10%, I mean, a product that keeps only a 10% commission if you're able to leverage all of their technological benefits. For example, if you can sync up your meeting room booking service with Yardi, that's very efficient. So how do you do that? Some of the other service providers like Office R&D, I think, can connect to Yardi via API, so that works. Or even a Google Calendar can work, and they charge only a 10% commission. If there is some manual process involved, it might be 20%, but it's going to be a lot less than what other providers like CloudVO had to charge to be able to survive. Okay. So what is Yardi? It's, as I said, they come from the software world, but it's a commercial listing company with all of those various sites I mentioned earlier, which will generate some leads and revenue to you guys. It's not anybody, $2 billion of revenue, growing 20%. It's owned by its founder and CEO, Anand Yardi, who is a pretty amazing guy, who is dedicated to co-working. You know, co-working is only 2% of his revenue today, but it's 40% of his focus as the CEO of Yardi, 9,000 employees. So it's somebody that has the muscles and to be able to deploy their vision in our industry. But the good news is you don't need to be a Yardi Cube customer, you know, meaning the software that supports your operations. If you use Office R&D, if you use others, it's free to list. And if you can leverage the efficiency of the technology, the commission will only be 10%. So listing is free. The Yardi team will follow up with you very shortly. If you want a wide, you need to agree with their TNCs, and then we can do a white glove transfer of your collateral, your address, your description, your pictures, your pricing from CloudVO to Yardi with your authorization, obviously. And this will be done to Co-working Cafe. Co-working Cafe, it's their new site over here. It's like only 9 months old, but it's dedicated to co-working. So if you go there, you'll see the same information as you have in Commercial Cafe, 42 Floors, Property Shark, and the others, as it relates to co-working. But in Co-working Cafe, they won't list the traditional space, just co-working space. And we need to give them a little bit of time to find, for Co-working Cafe to find its way to, the number 1 or number 2 of the search pages, but it's going to happen. And it's going to happen in a matter of weeks, not in a matter of months or years. So with your approval, we can do a white glove transfer of your collateral. It's also a great opportunity for you to refresh your pictures and to refresh your information. Okay, so this is the great news and the great opportunity that the Yardi listing site network is representing for you. But let me show you exactly how it looks like, because not of you are familiar with commercial cafe or co-working cafe. So let's do a search for, I don't know, last time I did Las Vegas, office space, Las Vegas, okay? And see what we have. LoopNet, it's another listing site that competes with Commercial Cafe or with Property Shark. And then you've got Property Shark. In the middle, you've got the My Google profile map. And the good news here is that if you guys really do a good job with local SEO, with Google reviews, you will show up. And this is free. And Google does not like large multi-location listing sites for My Google profile. So Pacific Workplaces is already there, even though we just opened less than a year ago in Las Vegas. And then you have Property Shark, you have Commercial Cafe, another site owned by Yardi, Commercial Search, a third site owned by Yardi, before you get to the Liquid Space and Instant Offices. And this is pretty typical. In fact, what's not typical is not to see a Yardi site in the sponsored link. You know, it comes and goes, but they are usually there as well. So let's click on one of those. Let me see, maybe we'll use Commercial Cafe. And this is for somebody looking for office space in Las Vegas. This is how it's going to look like. So there is 614 office spaces in that database in Las Vegas. And if it's a co-working space, they will flag with this little co-working label. So you've got a co-working space here, which happens to be Rages. You've got another one here, which happens to be Pacific Workplaces. So the brand is visible. They're not trying to hide your brand. They let people know what that is. These two here don't have a co-working label, so that's traditional space. And you have 614 of them combining both traditional space and co-working space. But if the user wants to filter out what is not co-working, they can go there, use this, and all of a sudden, did I do this right? Yeah, we have 52 Las Vegas co-working facilities. They all have a label that says co-working. And you've got Rages that is listing already. You've got Pacific Workplaces, and you've got some of you that are listing here, as well as WeWork. So you want to be there. And listing obviously is free. As I said, we can white glove transfer your information, and you want to use it as an opportunity to update your listing. So let me go back to my presentation. Of course, my. All right. My PowerPoint is giving me some little issues, but here we go. So that's Yardi. Now, how about current clients? As we said in my letter that we sent to you, we'd like you to keep them, including the 30 to 50% commission that we have kept. You keep them, you don't have to pay anybody any commission. And Yardi is doing that for two reasons. One is to show goodwill, that they are more interested in the much larger volume of leads that they will send you moving forward. And the second reason is a practical reason. Rather than having to chase the the end user to move them to a new term and conditions, we thought it would be easier for you to go and approach them directly, and we'll facilitate that process. We have already sent them a letter yesterday announcing the sale to Yardi and giving them a 30-day notice and encouraging them to reach out to you. And that should go both ways, you know, feel free to reach out to them to have a direct relationship with them, okay? So no commission to be paid anymore. And we did send our letter to all of those clients with our 30-day cancellation notice, encouraging them to start a direct relationship with you. There are a few special cases which Sierra has been already, is already on top of it. For example, some clients that prepaid for a full 12 months contract, and they may be halfway through that contract. If that's the case, and if you want to take over that relationship, we'll pay you the prorated value of the remaining contract. So in my example, half of the prepaid payment we will pay you, but they are just few and far between. And one thing which is important is that we will keep supporting live answering. So live phone answering is not part of the sale of to Yardi. And we have been answering many of you guys centers, you have used the cloud answering as your phone answering service on an outsourced basis. We'll continue to do that. Cloud answering is staying part of the Pacific Workplace family of companies, and there won't be any interruption to that business. The same apply to VO clients for whom we also answer the phone. So they may have a phone relationship with us, and they may have a mail plan relationship with you. So we do recommend you proactively reach out to them, that you keep the current pricing going. Whatever we're charging them, I'm not, you have the right to change that, but it would be nicer to let them benefit through that pricing through the end of the term. Presumably that pricing matches your current retail pricing anyway, and that you support them through the current term, and hopefully for you beyond, and ask support@cloudvo.com if you have any question. And of course, make sure to list with Co-working Cafe. It's free, it's not going to cost you much in commission. And we really believe that's the way to go. With that, if you have any question, you should feel free to reach out to me, but Sierra has usually much better practical responses to your issues than I have. But in the meanwhile, we can certainly entertain questions that you may have right now. Is there any question in the chat, Kim?
I don't see any questions in the chat.
Okay. Anybody would like to ask Sierra or myself any specific question? I'm sure if you have a question, it would benefit everybody else. Now, you can also do it by following up with Sierra at cloudvo.com with myself, or reaching out by phone. Okay? I see something in the chat. Yes, you should reach out to CloudVO clients. And, some of you came late to this presentation. We almost done, but we have another 5 minutes. And as I said earlier, we'll make the recording of this Zoom call available to you. As I said earlier, it's in the letter that we sent to our clients yesterday, encouraging them to reach out to you and vice versa, such that you can have a direct relationship. So you can have a direct relationship with these clients without paying us a commission. In the past, we would invoice the client, collect from them, and then pay you the discounted value, typically 70% for virtual offices and 50% for meeting rooms. Now you can keep all 100% of that relationship. See somebody, Natalie, that has been with CloudVO for a couple of years, but you have seen limited business from it. That's the point. If you see my slide, my first two slides on the volume of leads that come through, or at least visitors that come through the Yardi websites, commercial cafe, co-working cafe, property sharks, it dwarfs anybody else in our industry. It dwarfs the volume of Instant, of Liquid Space, and of CloudVO. And this is why we didn't think that we could compete with them, so we joined them. So they'll benefit from our knowledge of what you guys need. We are an operator ourselves, and we'll help them improve their products, which is already pretty darn good, to better fit the demand and better serve the operators. But you should see some almost immediate volume of leads that CloudVO on its own absolutely could not achieve. Any other question? I know a handful of you joined more than half these presentations, more than halfway through, to explain why we are joining, why it's going to be a benefit to you. I would refer you back to the first 2 or 3 slides of this presentation. But I'm available via email. Sierra is available via email anytime to follow up with any of you. Okay. With that, we are right on time. It's 10:30. I'm going to thank all of you for having been some great partners, and thanking you for continuing to be partners of ours via Yardi and work on bigger and better things together. Thank you, guys.